Hello and welcome to Unews for Thursday, March 12th. I'm Andrea Linares. There are a lot of new developments regarding the coronavirus, travel restrictions and warnings, events being canceled and infections being reported among sports and Hollywood personalities. We will cover all the angles, but first let's go to Lorraine Cáceres, who has an overview of the situation in the U.S. right now.
Is the latest state to declare a state of emergency. Oregon, like California and Washington, is also canceling events of more than 250 people. We're also learning a patient in Georgia has just died, bringing the total number of deaths in the U.S. to 39. Back to you, Andrea.
Such sad news. Thanks so much, Lorraine. As we now face a global pandemic, the White House has taken additional steps to help combat this outbreak. Most travel from Europe will now be suspended. The order goes into effect as soon as tomorrow. And this is another piece of information that we know at this time. A Brazilian official who met with President Trump last weekend at Mar-a-Lago has tested positive for coronavirus. He's a press secretary for Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro is also being tested. Those results aren't in yet. President Trump and Bolsonaro shook hands during that visit. Trump says he's not concerned. And we're also learning at this time that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is self-quarantining after his wife began experiencing some symptoms. She is awaiting test results. Meantime, Congress is shutting the Capitol and all House and Senate office buildings to the public until April. Lawmakers, aides, journalists, and official visitors will be allowed into these buildings. The House is also expected to vote today on a package of measures to address the coronavirus despite pushback from the top House Republican that the bill comes up short. Take a listen to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi earlier this morning. We rush to the stores to purchase hand sanitizer and disinfecting wipes. Stores are beginning to ration. New Rochelle, just outside of New York City, was signaled out earlier in the week by the state's governor as the area with the largest cluster of coronavirus cases in the country. And since then, New York State has taken some drastic measures to try to curb the spread. Fabiola Galindo is in New Rochelle with the latest.
Measures will last at least until March 25th, and authorities say that small businesses will not be affected as they will remain open. In Westchester, New York, Fabiola Galindo, Unews.
Thank you, Fabiola. Now to one of the most high-profile coronavirus deaths. Tom Hanks announcing overnight he and wife Rita Wilson are both infected. They're currently in Australia, where they were able to get tested. David Romo has more. Princess Cruises announced it's voluntarily pausing operations of its 18 cruise ships for 2 months. It says next, a Guatemalan woman dies in ice. Welcome back to Unews. Senate Republicans joined Democrats Wednesday to overturn a rule backed by Education Secretary Betsy DeVos that would have limited the student debt relief granted to people defrauded by for-profit college. The resolution will, as the race for the Democratic presidential nomination heats up, 4 more states are holding primaries next week: Illinois, Ohio, Florida, and Arizona. The last 2 have a heavy Latino population, a key demographic that can make or break both campaigns. With us now to discuss the Latino vote in Florida is Andrea Mercado. And now, devastated after a young Guatemalan woman became the latest national from the Central American nation to die in ICE custody, Gianni Aponte has more on how that family is coping with the tragedy. Immigration and Customs Enforcement said in a statement that Celeste Ochoa's cause of death was, quote, now to the sentencing for Harvey Weinstein. The disgraced Hollywood producer spoke out in court after being sentenced to 23 years in prison on sexual assault charges. As the 6 women who testified against him looked on, and just hours later, Weinstein was hospitalized with chest pains. Paola Byron has the story. Coming up next, a deadly accident in California claims a life. Welcome back to Unews. A young boy in the Los Angeles Unified School District was killed in a horrible accident that occurred while he was walking to school. A driver ran over that boy, and the whole incident was caught on security video. Salvador Duran has more on what happened. Breaking story. Authorities in California are also investigating a shooting at the Sherwood Mall in Stockton. Up next, violent protests in Chile marked subway collision in Mexico City, killed 1 person and injured dozens of others. The scenes were chaotic, with some speculating that it could have been much worse if it had occurred at a busier hour. Nidia Cavazos has the details and reaction from passengers. Still financial costs of back to that growing coronavirus outbreak and specifically its economic impact on employees forced to self-quarantine or just stay home. Many are wondering how will they pay their bills and stay afloat during these rough times. Elizabeth Tippett joins us now to discuss. She's in a preview of what's coming up in the next hour of Unews. We still have a lot more to tell you about now that the NBA has canceled its season. And welcome back to Unews. Thanks so much for staying with us. Another big Hollywood movie is fleeing the coronavirus. Murray Marangi has that, plus your latest look at a big summer film and the return of a cinema classic. The problem I see with some of these new releases is that people are becoming more and more fearful to go to movie theaters because of the coronavirus. We will see what happens. And the Fab Five is heading to Texas. Netflix has renewed the reality show Vitamin C, but during spring break, if you happen to stay home, maybe you can put your kids to work and start planting your beautiful garden at home. That's all the time that we have for the first hour of Unews. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to stay tuned for the second hour. We still have much more information coming up next with Carolina Sarasa. Take care.